You're listening to Ideal Practice episode number 90. Can you believe that, y'all? And today I'm going to share with you 3 of my favorite, most effective success hacks. These are the 3 support systems that I consistently put into place in order to propel myself forward as a practice owner, as a business owner, or for that matter, as a human being. These have been not just game changers, these have been life changers for me. And I hope they will be for you too. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Ideal Practice. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host, and I am so happy to be hanging out here with you guys again. I am feeling movement in the air. Are you? It's February, and February in East Tennessee can be a little hard sometimes. It can be a little cold, a little dreary, not always that exciting, and it's a time of year, honestly, that sometimes things can feel a little bit stagnant, but they're not. I am noticing new attitudes, new perspectives, new steps forward in clients, in family, in friends. And I don't know what's going on, but it feels to me like there's something going on in the air, like the energy is moving. And I love that. And I am tuning into it and paying attention to it. I just got a note from a client of mine in the last week or so who is actually thinking about movement, transitioning to a whole new phase in our work together. We've been working together pretty intensely for a year and a half or so, and she is doing so well. She's kind of ready to move into a new level where she needs not as much support from me, which is great. It's exciting. That's exactly what I want, right? But she took the time to send me a note and tell me how much she is enjoying her private practice these days. And y'all, this just touched my heart. I love this so much. She said in this note, quote, "I have really taken to the freedom as a sole business owner to make things happen in my private practice." I love that. I have really taken to the freedom as a sole business owner to make things happen in my private practice. And she went on and she said, the sky is the limit in terms of the ways I can grow and the directions I can grow in. I didn't expect any of that when I started my private practice. And it has been a delightful and sometimes nerve-wracking discovery. She said, I have intuitively stumbled into a form of work that allows me to continually learn and grow and get paid for it. I mean, who could ask for more, right? I wanted to share that with you because that is such a perfect frame for what I want to talk with you about today. The sky really is the limit in the way that you can grow and the direction that you can grow in. And it will indeed be sometimes delightful and fun and exciting, and sometimes nerve-wracking indeed, for real. I was thinking about, y'all know this, so I've run a counseling practice for a very long time, as a solo, as a group practice, back to a solo again. But along the way, I have had lots of other things I've done. I've run lots of other small businesses on the side. And several years ago, many of you have heard me talk about a business that I ran called Secret Adventures for Courageous Women. It was an adventure-based business where I literally planned an event every single month, 10 months out of the year, that were basically surprise adventures. That's really kind of what it was about. And they were crazy fun, They were super powerful for the people who participated. And I had been running it for 2 or 3 years, and I knew how good it was. I knew how powerful it was. I really wanted it to last, and I knew that something had to change. It was all consuming. Planning a big event for a group every single month that was physically challenging, emotionally challenging, and sometimes fairly complex. Well, it took a lot to pull that stuff off. Well, I reached a point where I knew that I really wanted that business to last, but it wasn't going to unless I got some help. So I hired a coach. I had worked with other coaches as well along the way, all of whom were awesome. But Christine is the one I found at the point when I was like, something's got to give. And through a series of events, I learned about her. I tuned into her. I started reading things that she wrote. I started listening to things she had to say. And I really liked what I was hearing. And at one point, I was invited to join her program, which was a mastermind that included participants literally from all over the world, literally. And let's just say the short version of this is it was the scariest decision I think I had ever made in my business at that point. I had just gone through a separation and was heading for a divorce. I was on my own and paying all the bills and sort of basically rebuilding my life. And it was a significant financial commitment, more than I had ever made for anything, ever, really, honestly. But I made the decision and I joined that program. And I'll tell you right now, it was super scary and super impactful. See, this is the thing, and here's something I want you guys to understand. Those brave people who are the ones out there running the show. You already know this. It is one thing entirely to be an employee in someone else's organization, right? When you work for a hospital or an agency or a clinic or a nonprofit, someone else is doing the worrying. You show up and do the work. The truth is that also goes if you are a practitioner in someone else's private practice or group practice. It wasn't really like that so much in mine because mine was kind of a different kind of animal. But usually if you work in a large group practice, somebody else is doing the worrying, somebody else is doing the planning, somebody else is carrying the load, right? It's another thing entirely when you are it. It's your practice. You call the shots. You do indeed have the freedom to do what you want. And you also carry all the responsibility. All of it. Well, there are a lot of lovely aspects to creating something on your own. I personally wouldn't have it any other way. And I've talked about this on this show before. Not everybody is cut out to be in private practice. Not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. But if this is how you are wired and you can't resist the call and you are indeed out here with the rest of us trying to figure things out, well, there are a lot of challenges that come with this, right? And when you are working in a vacuum, when you're running your practice completely on your own, there are some significant risks, such as there's a real risk of making strategic mistakes that could prevent you from reaching the goals that you have for your practice. If you don't know any better and you're just kind of flying blind and just guessing, and you've had no experience, no training, you're like me, you didn't get this in grad school, there's a real risk that you're going to make some expensive strategic mistakes. There's a very real risk of burnout, or worse, giving up from working too hard for too long with too little support. It can really get lonely and overwhelming sometimes. Or, one of the most significant risks that I see is people who are just spinning their wheels and getting in their own way all the time because you can't see where you are tripping yourself up or holding yourself back. You can't often see where you are the one that is making things harder on yourself, or where you are the one that's not going after an opportunity that is just right there in front of you. None of us can see that for ourselves. So I've got something I want to share with you all in a minute. I want to really think about this whole idea about getting in your own way, because Lord knows I have done that. And I've done that with lots of zeros on the end, y'all. There are, in fact, one of the things I have learned from experience that is a key part of my framework that you hear me talking about when I talk about the 7 pillars of an ideal practice. There are certain aspects of your practice that people most often stumble over, struggle with, make mistakes in, don't understand, or think they do understand, but they don't. There are certain areas that I see that are the most common where people, I think, are holding themselves back or getting in their own way. I want to help with that. And so for the first time ever, I am announcing here today, I want you guys to know about this. This is coming up really quickly. I have decided to host a sort of a little mini series, a little mini lunchtime training that I am calling Intentional Design. It's one thing to start a private practice and fly by the seat of your pants and just stumble through things. It's a whole other idea to start a private practice or grow an existing practice with conscious and intentional planning, where you are designing it in a way that supports you and really works for you. And I am creating and offering, for the first time ever, a 3-part training series on how to build your ideal practice with intentional design. I'm kind of excited about this, y'all. This is a new idea. I'm going to talk about how to avoid some of the most common mistakes that practice owners make, and I'm going to tell you how to turn those mistakes around in a way that moves your practice from being kind of, it's okay, it's working, to absolute magic, because it's so much fun, or it's so much more interesting, or it's so much more in tune and in alignment with who you are and what you want out of your practice. And if things go the way I want them to go, it will also be more profitable for you. I'll tell you more of the details about that training here at the end of this little episode, but I want you to tune in for this because I'm super excited about it, and it is coming up soon. All right. So let me tell you about these 3 hacks that I want to mention, my 3 favorite success hacks. And you're going to hear that they all have something in common. The first one, and y'all, I want you to listen to this, the very first one that I really don't want to ever run, I don't really ever want to go without, and that is hiring a coach. Hiring a coach. Now, I saw on a Facebook group just recently, just last week, I was looking at a group that had 17, 18, 19,000 members in it, private practice folks. And somebody was saying, is it really worth it, the kind of crazy money that you spend on a coaching program? And there was some real negative energy around that I was really sad to see, because I will tell you, I have been investing in myself and in the success of my business by hiring professional coaches for years and years. I've worked with lots of different folks. The very first coach I ever hired, and I'm going to name names, was Karen Greenstreet, and I'm going to link to these folks below. Karen Greenstreet, I hired her back in the early 2000s, y'all, because I wanted to learn how to get paid to speak. I was doing lots of speaking in my community to grow and get a name built for my group practice, but I kind of wanted to start getting paid for it, and I had absolutely no idea how to do that. So I hired Karen back then to teach me how to do that. I learned so much from her about how to craft a proposal, what kind of language to use, how to build an offer that gave a potential speaking engagement lots of flexibility in what their budget would cover, that kind of thing. It was super helpful and taught me things I knew nothing about. Years later, I worked with Michelle Pippin. She, in fact, was the one who gave me the whole idea behind Secret Adventures. And from her, I learned that I could play a bigger game and think outside the box in a really creative way that would never have occurred to me otherwise. And then I've already told you about Christine, who I worked with so that I could save Secret Adventures. Let me tell you, none of those were easy for me. Every single time the investment that it took to join. And it changed over time. As the years go by, things get more expensive. Or as my understanding of the importance of investing in my business grew, I wanted to play a bigger game, and I did. It was always a big deal. And every single time I made the decision to work with someone else, it scared me to death. And every single time, I have been glad I did that. Okay? So my very first success hack is you need somebody who understands business. Most of you, there's a few of you, if you listened to last week's podcast, you heard I interviewed a therapist with a $250,000, what was it? $2.5 million practice. She had an MBA. She was unusual. She had a business background. I'll certainly link to that below. Most of us don't have that. So if you don't know how to do this, how are you going to learn? It helps to hire an expert who knows what they're talking about and who can teach you what you don't know. I can't begin to say how much I have learned about sales and marketing from a place of integrity and service, about how to make an offer, about how to serve clients in a higher way that works for them as well as for me, about how to set up systems in my business. It's like the list is endless of the number of things I have learned by hiring a coach. So the number one success hack I would offer you is to hire a coach. Find someone who works for you, that resonates with you, who has something you want, and go learn from them. The second success hack that I have used, which I learned from working with a coach, and that was the importance of joining a mastermind. Now, that didn't come until later, actually. I had some brief experiences with that along the way, but honestly, it wasn't until I joined the program with Christine Kane that I really came to learn what a mastermind truly was and what it meant and what kind of difference it can make. And, in another episode at some point, if you all want, I would be glad to go into details about that and what that means. But a mastermind is essentially a very specific, structured, tailored type of peer coaching support group. Okay? Sometimes it is professionally led, and I actually think it's better when it is. But run well, it is indeed the mastermind that is created when a group of people come together to work together. It comes out of the Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, which many of you are familiar with. That's where the idea was first articulated. I will tell you the key to making a mastermind work, because I've seen them work and I've seen them not work. And it can also be a really huge time suck when you find yourself tied into a group that is not right for you. I don't want that to happen either. And I will tell you just really quickly, just 3 quick tips for what makes a good mastermind work. The first one is that you are in a small group of 6 to 10 people, y'all. And you can be in a group with 100 people, but inside that, you're going to meet with small groups of 6 to 10. They need to be people who are at your level of development in some way. That doesn't mean exactly where you are. And ideally, really, you want to be with people who are a little ahead of where you are. But all groups work better when you are with people who are going to challenge you and call you forward in a way. If you are in a group where you are way beyond most of the other people in the group, you're going to find yourself basically coaching and not getting a whole lot in return. You need to be with people who are more your business equals. I've had experiences with both ways, and it really does make a difference. The second tip I want to give you is it helps to be with others who want your best. And one of the ways you'll know that is that they are willing to call you out when you need that. They will challenge you when they see you playing small or when you are stuck. They will also celebrate with you when you succeed. Can you imagine what it would be like? And I bet a lot of you can't. Imagine what it would be like to be in a group of 6 to 10 people that you could say, hey, y'all, I just got a $10,000 client. I just signed a $15,000 contract. I just got my first $20,000 offer. Can you imagine sharing that kind of news with people and they are not threatened by it? They are excited by it, and they are going to give you hugs and high fives and lots of woohoos, because if you can do it, they can do it, and it's going to do nothing but raise the vibrations of the whole group. Everybody is excited. A good mastermind is a group that is carefully constructed with your business equals, who celebrates your wins, supports you on the days that you don't feel like you're winning, and who will challenge you to grow when you're getting in your own way. And I would say that the third tip to finding a good mastermind is being with others who are willing to commit to it, like you are. A solid mastermind is not something you just do when you feel like it. You drop in here and there. A solid mastermind meets with some kind of structure on some kind of a regular basis. Like, we can talk about that later. And everyone commits to showing up. And I will tell you this, when you are in the right mastermind with the right people, and they really are, it's healthy and strong, it will change your life, y'all. It will change your life. You combine that when you've got the right coach and the right mastermind, like there are no words to describe what a difference that can make. Now, groups of people are groups of people, and there are always going to be situations that work better than others. There are going to be, moments that click and moments that don't. Nobody's perfect, but if you do your part and you are in the right place, I'm telling you, this can grow you like nothing else. And then the third success hack I want to share with you is finding an accountability partner, an accountability buddy. This is a one-on-one relationship with someone else that the two of you agree to support each other and to hold each other accountable to the goals and intentions that you say you want in your business. Now, the criteria to make this successful are the exact same as what I just said about masterminds. A good accountability partner will be someone who is at the same or similar level of development as you. They may be a little ahead, they may be a little behind, but they're close. They also are someone who wants your best, so they also are willing to call you out when you need it and celebrate with you when you succeed. And they're also going to be the first one you want to talk to when you're having a bad day and when you get fired by a client or the offer doesn't work or something bombs, right? They're going to be the person that you want to call. And they also are willing to commit like you. At some point in the future, I'd love to go into more detail about each one of these, because hiring the right coach, finding the right mastermind, and working with the right accountability partner really can be the cocoon, the environment, the blanket to wrap around you on the cold days and the fireworks to shoot off in celebration on the great days. They really can. That combination is just golden. And I'm not saying it's easy to find this, because it's not. But golly, when you do, it's really something. I'll just tell you, when I just joining that one program, and I told you I've worked with lots of people, and they have all been exactly what I needed at that time in my own growth and development. But just that one program that I joined, in that case, I found the coach I needed, because in that moment, with where I was at that time, I found someone who understood people like me, meaning someone who had a passion for what they did, who really loved their clients, who really wanted to do good things in the world, and who didn't care a flip about money, who had no clue about how to make any money, and who were really conflicted about it. She understood people like me, and she knew how to speak to people like me, and she knew how to challenge people like me. It was from her that I learned that I was a 9 on the Enneagram, which I resisted with everything in me for a long time. It was from her that I came to understand what that meant and how important that was. And I've talked about that on this program as well. Finding the coach I needed helped me learn so much about myself, but it also gave me the courage to face some things in my business that I had not been willing to face before, and to learn about some sides of my business in a way that suddenly made sense that I'd never understood before, especially about the importance of profitability and the whole role of money in my practice. Being part of a true mastermind turned out to be equally powerful as working with the right coach. And I will tell you, I'm not in that program anymore. That program closed. But I, to this day, have a group of 9 friends. So there's 10 of us, very carefully pulled together, who meet on a quarterly basis all year long for a 2-day period. We meet virtually because we are literally all over at literally every corner of the U.S., but we meet consistently. And this group that I'm a part of meets all the criteria I was just talking to you about. We are all at similar levels. We all are committed. We all want each other's success. And I can't even imagine running my practice without that kind of support. And then there's my sweet, amazing, lovely accountability partner, Michelle Knox, who at some point I'm going to have on here for an interview because I want you to meet her. Michelle and I have been meeting once a week for an hour, typically on a Monday morning, for 6 or 7 years now. And although we go through times when we might not meet during holidays or travel or when we're in the middle of a launch or something like that, most of the time we do. And even after all this time, even after becoming really good friends, we still say, so what are you working on in your business this week? So what did you accomplish last week? What are you feeling good about? Where are you struggling? What's your focus right now? How are you going to make that happen? That's what we do for each other. It's really just sacred to me. So what do these 3 success hacks have in common? All of them involve relationships with other entrepreneurs who understand you, who get you, who see you, who support you, who care about you, and who want the same thing in response from you, right? All of them. We are not meant to operate in a vacuum, y'all. We're not made that way. We are healers. We are natural empaths. We naturally connect with other human beings. We naturally give all the time. We also need to receive. And there is nothing like running a business to challenge you like nothing else. So I can't think of a better way to last and to grow and to really succeed than to make sure you have a good coach, that you're part of a good mastermind, and that you have an accountability partner. That will help you get through a lot. So here's a little journal prompt I want to mention to you. So let's do something with this. I want to just ask you a question. And I want you to sit with this. I want you to think about it. And I really encourage you to maybe write about this. How would your practice or your experience as a business owner be different? How would it be different if you had the competent, consistent, and clear-eyed support that a good coach, a good mastermind, and an accountability partner could bring? What kind of difference would that make for you? And if you don't know, I'm just going to say, what if you did know? What if you did know? What kind of difference would that make for you? And that's a perfect segue to go back to what I mentioned earlier. I want to invite you, as you think about how your practice would be different, I want to invite you to join me for intentional design. We are going to do this from on your lunch hour. I'm setting this up on your lunch hour so that it is manageable for all of you, or I should say it this way, my lunch hour, which is on Eastern time. Hopefully that's close enough that it will work in other time zones. So I'm going to do this. What is it, next week? Is it next week? I think it's next week. February the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. From 12 to 1. 1 hour, y'all. We're going to make this quick and clean so that you can get in and get off. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, February 12th, 13th, and 14th. And how perfect is that? it will lead us right into Valentine's Day, which I think is kind of lovely because what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than to figure out new ways to fall back in love with your practice? By learning how to design it from an intentional point of view where you can avoid some of the most common mistakes people make, leverage those mistakes and turn them around. Using the 7 pillars as our framework, we're going to dive into 3 areas in particular where I see this as a common problem for so many folks and opportunity. And guys, if you've never attended one of my events before, then you may not know that they tend to be highly interactive. This isn't a presentation that I'm speaking at you. This is going to be a conversation and a discussion and some teaching around how to be intentional about each of these areas in your practice. This is free. Did I mention that? It's free, 100% free. All you have to do, I'm going to be doing this live on Zoom. All you have to do is sign up through the link that I'm going to have in the show notes below. If you are on my email list, I'll be sending this out to you via email as well. It is completely free, but I need to know who's coming so that I can prepare and make sure that I am ready for you guys. And I like to know who's going to be there. So do me a favor. Do click on the link that you'll find in the show notes or in your email inbox and sign up so I know to expect you and clear your schedule. 12 to 1. And y'all, I'm going to make this tight. We will start right at 12. Is Eastern, 12 Eastern. I will log on. I will open the doors 15 minutes before that. And I will stay 15 minutes after to answer any questions. But the content is going to be tight, 12 to 1. So I encourage you to be on time. I encourage you not to leave early. Give this to yourself. If you have clients or sessions before or after, give yourself a little window so you can make this work. All right. That's what I've got for you today. I'm super excited about it. And I hope you have a great week. And I hope I will see you at Intentional Design. Check out the links below or your email. Have a great week, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.